So today's presentation, we are going to be talking about a veteran realtor from Florida. Her name is Alexis Bolin, and I came across her interview with Real Trends the day before yesterday. It's about a 30-minute interview, very, very relevant to today's mortgage rate atmosphere that we have and the nuggets that she is going to be offering you as far as your presentations are concerned, whether it's a buyer presentation or a seller presentation. From time to time, your executive team has empowered me to bring you with information that would actually help you to stay in the center of the transaction, as we've said so many times, and as well as giving you some proven, time-tested methods of closing deals and so forth. So this is going to be one of it. Second thing I'm going to be talking about is on the federal level, an act that has been introduced that is called More Homes on the Market Act that has to do with the capital gains. And I think you'll be pleased by hearing what I have to report on that. And then, of course, report to you what happened to AB 916, ASB 679, and AB 2097. And then go on to Los Angeles. The measures, two measures, deleterious, really, really bad for real estate. And these have to do with the transfer tax increases by tenfold or so. And we are going to be talking about that and what happened with the supervisors, with LA County and the tenant protection, the report that they're going to be asking for the staff to bring back and so forth. And then I'm also going to be reporting back to you on what California for Homeownership has done. As you know, this is the arm, the nonprofit arm on part of CAR that investigates and litigates with the different cities to make sure that they meet their housing goals set by SCAG and what have you. So let's get started with Alexis Bolin. Alexis Bolin is from Florida, has been in business for 44 years, and she has got some nuggets to offer. And it's a 30-minute presentation or interview at Real Trends, which I will be posting the link later on in the chat for you to copy and listen to it and for your consideration in future. Some of the nuggets. Hear this out, guys. Marry the house and date the rate. This is quite applicable to today's situation. I remember when I first bought my house. This is in 1979, and the rates were through the roof. But I married the house and dated the rate, and then later on, of course, changed the rate. This is an interesting concept, and you need to take notice of it and hopefully use it in your presentations. Or on commitment. She uses the example of breakfast, like ham and eggs or bacon and eggs. The chicken is involved, but the pig is committed. The idea here is prospects, not suspects. In other words, going after people that are qualified and that will help you out, close the deals and so forth. So at any rate, we will be posting that for you for later on. On the federal level, More Homes on the Market Act deals with the capital gains limit because this was adopted about 25 years ago. And this act was introduced by Jimmy Panetta, Democrat from California, and Mike Kelly, Republican from PA. A bipartisan bill that is going to increase the limit for capital gains for single filers to 500,000 from the 250 existing and 1 million. And this would be of great importance for state of California, especially our senior citizens. There are studies that NAR has done that states about 95% of the people that are single that have bought their properties prior to 2000 could be affected by this. And of course, 60% of the people that are over 60 that have purchased their properties before 2000. We hope and we're looking forward that if this thing is adopted, it will help increase the inventory and therefore bring new or cause to be brought new homes to the market as we go forward. On a state level, governor signed into the law many deals, but I'm going to be talking about two or three of them. AB 916 Salas prohibits public hearing for proposed room additions up to 2 rooms for single-family homes and expands allowable ADU height up to 20 feet. This, again, goes and speaks to the fact that on the state level, the legislators have been addressing the dearth of inventory by adding and allowing more homes and more ADUs to be built and so forth. AB 2097, Laura Friedman from Glendale. Laura's bill, Assemblymember Friedman's bill, prohibits cities from actually asking for parking unless they can prove otherwise, that this is a health issue or a safety issue and they need to have the parking and so forth. And this is designed to affect projects that are within half a mile of quality transit distances. So if you are within a high propensity, let's say a bus station, bus stop, and you're within 15 minutes or half a hour walking distance, your project could qualify for this. This is not to say that the developers don't have to build parking. Parking is an extraordinary expense, especially when you go down deep in the ground. And so, but it gives the opportunity for a developer to pass on the savings on the parking to people that may not need the parking and may be using or taking mass transit and so forth. So this is a good bill, and CAR was neutral on this. CAR actually supported AB 916, and the Glendale Association of Realtors also was in favor of Laura Friedman's bill. The other one, unfortunately, the one that we lost with a very narrow margin that the governor signed into law, was SB 679, which would create a cadre of 21 appointed people that could raise and or suggest putting parcel taxes, sales taxes, levy other taxes on property owners in order to fund homeless shelters and services for the homeless. Now, if you remember, we go back to Proposition Edge and Triple Edge. 1.2 billion was raised, and only about 4,000 or 5,000 rooms or shelters have been built for the homeless. And that was the issue that the opponents of this bill had with it. And I think it lost the battle by, I want to say, somewhere with 2 or 3 votes in the legislature. So that's the update on the state level. Let's talk about a little bit about 1 or 2 more bills. And the other 2 are AB 2011 and SB 6, Portantino, if you remember, conversion of commercial vacant lots and so forth to housing. And a lot of studies have been done. We are short about 300,000 homes a year that needs to be built. And we hope that in California, this would help to lower or to assuage, to allay that issue of low inventory and low housing for our working class and so forth. On a local level, I want you to pay very close attention. There is a measure ULA and SP, in the city of Los Angeles that has qualified for the ballot, and it would increase the transfer tax to 5% as opposed to the 0.5% it is today. What does that mean? If you own a commercial piece of property that you want to sell, if you own a home that you want to sell, now your transfer tax is not $4,500 on $1 million transaction. It is almost $50,000. I mean, that is a measure that needs to be defeated. Again, this is on the back of the property owners and the guys behind or the reasoning behind these measures are again homelessness and energy and a whole slew of stuff. So if you do have friends, family, and clients in the city of Los Angeles, I will be posting the flyer on it. No on Measure UL, no on Measures ULA and SP that you can share with your clients and so forth. So please make sure that you transmit this information to the folks that you know in Los Angeles. LA County is also considering a proposal for permanent tenant protections. That's going to come back by staff in a report to them. Sheila Kuehl, the outgoing District 3 supervisor, suggested that if a tenant, for example, owes less than 1 month, right, then the landlord and or the housing provider cannot evict the tenant. Now, if you're thinking the way that I am right now, you can see how this if it passes, someone can game the system, right? But having said that, these are the kind of stuff that we are doing. We are hearing a lot in Los Angeles County, especially, and we all have to be cognizant of it and be vigilant on it. Speaking about California for home ownership, as you know, this is the arm, the litigating arm, the investigating arm, and the educating arm of CAR that gets involved with the cities to make sure that they meet their housing element requirements from SCAC and from Housing Community Development of the state of California. In fact, in the past 2 weeks, they have sued Fullerton, Claremont, and La Mirada, and in April they sued another 8 cities, including South Pasadena. Some of them have settled and adhered to their housing element. Notice City of Glendale is not in there, and that's because your association worked very hard with the planning division, and in fact made a presentation to the planning. We made a presentation to the planning commission at the council level as well that took out about 1,700 or so properties where that didn't have any chance to be developed, and they replaced them with the ones that they could. So this is why City of Glendale was never sued by California for home ownership. With that, I have to say thank you, Mr. President, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you very much. Always great information. We have a first from Ira. Ira, you have a question?
Just a couple of comments, if I may. You know, on that measure SP and ULA, the election is 33 days away. Ballots are going out in the mail by next Monday, I believe. So it's really important to be focused on these issues, especially if you're planning on voting early. And so that's going to be a big deal. And there's a number of initiatives that are there. I mean, you see ads on TV, but just be aware that the ballots are going to be out in about a week or within the week. And a lot of people like to start voting early and start focusing before the actual election day. So I would encourage you bone up on that information before you vote, and hopefully you will vote. The other thing, and I guess this is late breaking news, but yesterday the city of LA voted 12-0 to lift the moratorium on evictions and on rental housing because of the pandemic. Won't go into the details, but if you pick up the LA Times or the Daily News, there will be stories in there that tell you about some of the new rules. But as Greg mentioned, for LA County, with Sheila Kuehl's desire to create some new things before she goes out of office, some of the council members are proposing similar types of things within the city of LA. So, you know, unfortunately, politics is politics, and there's a lot of stuff going on. But just be aware of what's going on around us and around you, and what's affecting you and your clients. And that's my words for the day. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Ira. Vartan, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Greg, go ahead.
If I may,
Sure.
if I may address a couple of points that Ira raised real quickly. Number one, LA City of Los Angeles extension of the moratorium. Housing providers can evict, but starting February of next year, right? So yes, it has been lifted, but there's 3 or 4 months that you have to climb that hill in order to be able to do that. Number two, the measure UAL and SP, I can tell you that a great deal of effort is happening on the part of Southland and Greater Los Angeles Realtors Association on that, along with Pasadena and a couple of other bordering association, but CAA and AGLA, or the Apartment Owners Associations, are also involved with this thing, along with BOMA, because it does affect commercial properties as well, and help is on its way. And a lot is being done as we speak.
I agree, but my point on the fact that the ballots are going out, some of the efforts that are going to be put forward, people may vote before all that additional information is disseminated.
Yeah,
That's
the effort
certainly a
started
possibility.
about 3 weeks ago, Aaron.
Yeah. All right, Vartan.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Greg, for a very comprehensive report. Just a quick question on AB 2097. You mentioned that cities are prohibited from requiring parking for projects that are close to transportation hubs, basically. But is it for all projects and every kind of project, or is it for single families? Let's say if I build 100 units close to transportation center, am I allowed not to provide any parking, or how does that work? Or it's only for single families?
Right. So no, it's not only for single families, for multifamily and mixed use. And these are projects that must have a component of affordability with them. I think City of Glendale, we're at 15-20%. When you were a council member, that inclusionary law passed, but it does have to have affordability component to it. But now the onus, or it's changed. The city has to prove that it's necessary to for the developer to provide parking, not the other way around.
So the burden is on the city to prove
Yes.
that you need parking?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
That is interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Greg, again. Thank you, Vartan. Our President-elect, Carmen.
Good morning, Greg. Thank you so much. This presentation was awesome, very informative. 2 quick questions. The federal act, where they're proposing to increase the capital gains for individuals and families. Exclusion, correct.
Exclusion, right.
Yes. When do you think this will go into? When will this be adopted by?
Well, it's been introduced, right?
Okay.
In fact, our President Otto Katrina, thanked both representatives, one from PA and the other one from California, for approaching this in a bipartisan manner. By the way, folks, I miss that part of our legislator, right? If we get a whole lot more of this going on, we would be in a better place. I can promise you. So it's been introduced. What will happen? We will update you as it goes along. There is no questions in my mind, because this is something that NAR has been working on for, I want to say, 2 to 4 years now, right? And there's no questions about it that NAR will start a campaign on it and so forth. So we're gearing up. We are getting ready for all of that, but it's been introduced.
Great. And then AB 916, although this is a state mandate, will the local government rules trump it?
No.
No.
All in all, I think the most holistic way of looking at all of these state initiated legislations, Carmen, is the fact that everybody in California is trying to make sure that we meet our goals at the 300,000 a click per year, right? We haven't for decades. And some of the problem has been CEQA and NIMBYism, not in my backyard. And you know exactly what I mean by that, even in our city, in the city of Glendale, the issues that we've had with that, with that kind of a movement. However, when the state legislators saw that nothing on the local level, or I can't say nothing, but the movement was very, very slow. The movement was not enough to meet that middle housing that is missing, that is the greatest wealth generator for the average American, right? They intervened, and thankfully they did so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Patrick, I think he put his hand down. All right. So thank you so much, Greg. Always great information.